Angkor was not swallowed in a single day. It did not disappear with one storm, one battle, or one final scream. It faded slowly, stone by stone, canal by canal, route by route, until one of the greatest cities of the ancient world seemed to vanish beneath the jungle. Today, in Cambodia, near Siem Reap, the ruins of Angkor rise from the forest like a memory that refuses to die. Trees grow over temple walls. Roots twist around carved stone. Dark corridors open into silence. And water still gathers near monuments that were once part of a vast living city. But Angkor was not born as a ruin. Long before the jungle covered its stones, this was the heart of the Khmer Empire. For centuries, kings ruled from this region. They built temples, roads, reservoirs, canals, walls, gates, towers, and cities of stone. Angkor was not only a sacred landscape, it was a royal center, a hydraulic city, a place where water, power, faith, and architecture were tied together. To understand Angkor, you have to imagine more than temples. You have to imagine an entire world. Imagine wide causeways crossing water, stone towers rising above the trees, monks and priests moving through sacred spaces, workers cutting stone, farmers depending on canals and reservoirs, boats crossing water systems, officials carrying messages, families living near roads, ponds, markets, and fields. From the outside, Angkor can look like a lost temple complex, but at its height, it was a vast urban world. Its power depended on both stone and water. The Khmer kings understood that water was not just a resource. It was organization. It was agriculture. It was control. It was survival. Across the landscape, they shaped reservoirs, canals, embankments, ponds, and channels that helped connect the city to the rhythm of the seasons. In the rainy season, water arrived with force. In the dry season, water had to be held, directed, and remembered. This is one of the reasons Angkor feels so extraordinary. It was not simply built on the land. It was built with the land. And then there was Angkor Wat. Rising with towers like stone mountains, Angkor Wat became one of the most recognizable monuments on Earth. Its walls were carved with stories, figures, processions, and sacred imagery. Its design was not random. Every approach, every tower, every corridor, every reflection in the water helped create a vision of order. Stone became faith. Architecture became power. And power became something people could walk through. But Angkor was bigger than Angkor Wat. There was Angkor Thom, the great walled city. There were monumental gates, causeways, towers, terraces, and the mysterious faces of Bayon looking out in every direction. There were temples now wrapped in roots, where trees seemed to grip the stones as if nature itself had returned to claim them. There were roads, waterworks, neighborhoods, shrines, workshops, and quiet spaces of daily life. The city was alive in layers. Royal, sacred, practical, human. That is what makes Angkor so powerful. It was not just a place of kings. It was a place where ordinary life existed under the shadow of monuments. Someone carried water, someone cooked food, someone repaired a wall, someone walked across a causeway at sunrise, someone looked up at a tower and believed it would stand forever. But no city stands forever unchanged. Over time, Angkor faced pressure. Water systems needed constant care. Political power shifted. Trade routes changed. Religious life transformed. Regional conflict and new centers of power altered the world around it. The decline of Angkor was not one simple event. It was a long transformation. A city that had depended on organization, water, labor, faith, and royal authority slowly changed its shape in history. Some places remained sacred. Some spaces were reused. Some structures were abandoned. Some were damaged. Some were forgotten by outsiders, but not erased from local memory. And then the forest did what forests do. It grew. Rain fell into cracks. Seeds settled into stone. Roots entered walls. Moss covered carvings. Vines crossed doorways. Trees rose from courtyards. The jungle did not need to destroy Angkor quickly. It only needed time. That is the haunting beauty of Angkor today. The ruins do not look empty. They look occupied by another kind of life. The stone is still there, but so are the roots. The corridors are still there. but so is the silence. The carvings are still there, but time has softened their edges. When you walk through Angkor, you are not only seeing what was lost, you are seeing what survived. A doorway half covered by roots, a tower reflected in still water, a face carved in stone watching the forest, a staircase leading nowhere, a wall holding the marks of hands that died centuries ago. And beneath all of it, the question remains: how could something so vast become so quiet? That is why Angkor feels different from many ancient cities. It was never completely gone, but it became hidden, layered, changed, and surrounded by forest. It became a city where history and nature share the same frame. The jungle did not erase Angkor. It transformed the way we see it. What kings built to show order, nature wrapped in disorder. What stone tried to make permanent, roots slowly challenged. What once stood as royal certainty became archaeological mystery. And yet, Angkor still speaks. It speaks through water channels, through broken steps, through towers at sunrise, through carved walls, through trees growing where roofs once stood, through the silence of a city that was once filled with movement. Angkor reminds us that civilizations do not disappear only when buildings fall. Sometimes they disappear when systems fail, when water is harder to control, when power moves elsewhere, when the labor that maintained a city can no longer hold it together, when the forest begins to enter the cracks. And once nature enters, it does not ask permission. It returns slowly, patiently, completely. Today, Angkor is one of the great archaeological landscapes of the world, but it is more than a collection of temples. It is the remains of an entire civilization trying to balance power, belief, water, stone, and time. Its ruins are beautiful because they are not clean. They are broken, wet, rooted, shadowed, alive with decay. The city the Khmer kings built did not vanish into nothing. It became something else, a monument, a warning, a memory held between stone and jungle. And that may be the real power of Angkor. Not that it was lost, but that after centuries of rain, roots, silence, and change, it still refuses to disappear. Angkor was the city the jungle took back, but it was also the city that survived inside the jungle. And somewhere between the towers, the roots, the water, and the stone, the lost heart of the Khmer Empire is still waiting to be seen.